The return of James Houston. A lot of you have been waiting on it to happen since he was injured in week 2. Didn't know if he was going to play again this year. Then he was elevated from IR and his 21-day window was open. I believe we are in week 2 of that 21-day window. And Dan Campbell today did not seem like he was confident that James Houston would return not only this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, but also for that first wild card playoff game. I remember saying when the 1 seed was still in reach that bye week would be huge for James Houston. The 1 seed, we would have a bye week and we would essentially be playing in the divisional round. That would be our first game. And that could be a time that we could see James Houston. Well, it looks like that's the time we're going to have to wait, because I've been saying forever that James Houston coming back from an injury, making an impact, the injury that he had, making an impact, immediate impact on this roster was going to be a long shot. And from what Dan Campbell had to say today, I listened to it. He didn't seem too confident about James Houston coming back for the wild card round of the playoffs. Now, I listened to the press conference, and Dan Campbell said last week, this was right before James Houston 21-day window was open, that he's almost there, a little more time. Then the next day he opens his 21-day window. I know we're not going to see him this coming Sunday. We'll get that injury reported about 4 o'clock. But for the wild card round, it seems unlikely. Here's what Jeremy Reisman had to say. Maybe coming from a Lions insider, you'll be more likely to believe it. Says, I asked Campbell today about that challenge for Houston, meaning returning from injury. And he talked about the confidence a player has to feel in his own body to be ready. I did not get a sense one way or the other if Houston would be ready for the wild card round. And then this was an hour before Jeremy's tweet. Says, I think Jeremy Eric talked a bit about this on the podcast this week, but my prediction is Houston doesn't get back on the field this year. The Lions seem skeptical of his ability to really contribute before he got hurt. Now he's missed all year. First snaps back in playoffs. That is a lot to ask of a person that's been injured. It really is, especially a second-year player. That's a lot to ask for James Houston. And and he's going to come back and just instantly impact in our playoff game. It's highly unlikely. We might not even see him early on. And James Houston is a weird case all year, because Dan Campbell, first it seemed like he was going to be put on the shelf. Then it seemed like he might come back. This guy has been eligible to return from IR. His injury was like 4 to 6 weeks. He got hurt in week 2. So let's go to we'll give him 8 weeks. From week 10, James Houston has been eligible to return. And the Lions, for now, 8 weeks, have not even, for 5 or 6 weeks, he was still on IR. They took their time with him. Then they elevate him, and now we're in week 2 of his 21-day window. So if we would have had a bye week, then maybe we would see him in the divisional round of the playoffs. But it doesn't look like we are going to see him at all. But then again, Dan Campbell will say one thing, and then the next day, boom, he's in. So the injury report drops in about an hour and a half from the making of this video. I fully expect him to be out. We're going to know if CJ Gardner-Johnson will be back today or this week against the Minnesota Vikings in a game that the Lions do need to have a shot at the number 2 seed. But now we got a situation. We have a situation. And I don't want to be right. A lot of you guys in the comment section, you think I want to be right, that I would rather see my team lose and be right than be wrong and see them win. Well, you don't know very much about me, and you are questioning my fandom. I would rather look stupid any day of the week and have my team win the Super Bowl than have them lose and be right. That's how much I value that I want my team to win. I just see things. And I've been watching this team a long time, and I see continuity. You know how you watching the TV show and you might see a continuity era? That's what this is for this team. This team lacks a pass rush severely. And I was one of the only YouTubers, if not the only YouTuber, who talks Detroit Lions, who had the courage enough to tell you that this team, that Brad Holmes failed the pass rush with this team. Now we have a situation coming into the 2024 offseason that he has to make a move. He has no choice. His back is literally against the wall, whether it's Dallas Turner in the draft or it's Josh Allen in free agency, or it's neither one of them. But he gets some impactful players on this team. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. You think I want it to be right. I do not want to be right. But if I'm right, I'm going to let you know. That's just how this thing is going to go. because I have thousands of comments every day telling me how wrong I am and that I'm a basement chair GM. And when this basement chair GM is not too far off from his predictions. All right. So James Houston coming in, that means that our pass rush is nothing. We got rid of Bruce Irvin, who had done very little for this team, but he did cause some type of pressure. All I've been hearing since this man got hurt in week 2 is how he was going to come back and make an impact. And now it's very likely that we don't even see him the rest of this year. And let me remind you next year that James Houston is a exclusive rights free agent. The Detroit Lions can decide to keep him or they can decide to let him walk. He got a 2-year deal because he was cut from the team and picked up on the practice squad. Okay, so we'll see what happens with James, the problem Houston. It's unfortunate because our team needs a pass rush and we don't look like we're going to have one. We're going to have to bring safety help, and somewhere down the line, our front 4 are going to cause us to lose a game. It's just the way it is. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below about James Houston. Have you finally lost hope for this year? Do you think James Houston will come back at any point this year? And lastly, do you think he will make an impact when he does? Obviously, and I've broken my bone before. I've broken my femur and it sucks. And you have to build confidence. And matter of fact, James Houston was talking about that in a press conference last week about if you play like you don't want to get hurt, then you're probably going to get hurt again. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.